Hello, everyone. My name's Hugh, and welcome back to the Newport County pre-match podcast. I need to think of a new name of that, but we're going to roll with that for now. I haven't done one of these in a little while, but we're back on track, and what better way to be on track than being the top form team in League Two? Delighted to be joined by Matt today to talk Notts County. Of course, the reverse fixture didn't end exactly how we hoped, but hopefully we can get some redemption in that regard. So first of all, mate, how are we?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, mate. Not bad at all. We're recording this on the day of the Saturday games, and I have many of a reason to be quite optimistic about things. But yeah, I suppose that is the first thing we'll go into. The weekend games, of course, you played Gillingham, we played Walsall, and I think two varying results would be the correct way to say it. We won 3-0, you lost 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. So how did that go, and is it kind of summarising your recent form at the minute?
Yeah, so I appreciate you rubbing it in that we lost. Thanks, Kieran.
No worries at all.
So we're looking forward, not back, but I see how it is. Um, I think it kind of it's another loss. It's another game we haven't won, which makes it. I don't think we've won this year yet, which isn't great, really. I wasn't at the game, so I can't give like personal accounts. However, from what I've heard from sort of who I class as reliable opinions, is that we played really badly. Um,
Oh, well.
we seemed to lose our shape. We had no sort of bite or grit or sort of nastiness about us in that sense. We went 1-0 up, similar to how we did when we played Mansfield at Meadow Lane when we lost 4-1. We go 1-0 up and then seem to lose all sort of track. Any structure we've got, any flow we've got seems to go, and that seems to be what happened yesterday. I've heard that we changed our formation to a 4-back about 20 minutes to go, and that like made us a lot better. So I'm thinking as going forward, I'm thinking for the Newport game that you could be seeing a completely different Notts County team. So you never know. Your purple patch at the moment might be coming to an end when our losing streak comes to an end.
Well, they're two different records, aren't they? One of them you want to end, one of them you don't necessarily want to end. But yeah, I've heard a lot of Notts fans kind of say that you're not playing well enough, and it's very surprising given how it went at Meadow Lane for us. It didn't go too well. I like to say it was 3-0, if I'm not mistaken. So that there was a lot of talks about you getting back-to-back promotions along with Wrexham, but I believe you currently sit 10th, which is a position above us, and that for me is really weird to say, saying that we're only a position below you, and I think it's only a point below you, given how the reverse fixture went anyway. So, in terms of the season, one of the key parts or key factors, I suppose, into what you might not call optimistic or great form for you was it a departure of your manager to Swansea, Luke Williams?
Yeah, I think that's a really difficult one because obviously Luke Williams was a massive figure around Meadow Lane and all the fans supported him when he moved on because it's a massive opportunity. It's closer to home for him. It's obviously more money for him going to Swansea, and no one can begrudge him for doing such a massive leap. You've got to take that step in your career. But he did brilliantly last season. That can't be understated how unreal he was. And for the start of the season, when we were doing really well, like you said, I think we were in the top 3 for some time. But this form had started before he left. This isn't a case of because there was one game in between Luke Williams leaving and Stuart Maynard been appointed, and that was when we drew 5-5 at Grimsby, which was everyone wrote that game off because however much everyone loves Jim O'Brien, we knew it was going to be a spectacle of a match, and my God, it was. But this blip in form, this poor patch of our season, started before the Maynard era, before Jim O'Brien came in. So I don't think it's fair to say that this started because Luke Williams left, but I don't think it's helped because where Luke Williams maybe would have had 3 or 4 games losing or drawing, we then I think would have found that stability and sort of come back to the form that we had prior. But we've had a couple of games where we lost and drew and weren't picking up as points we should have done under Luke Williams. And then a massive change, the head coach goes and Jim O'Brien comes in for a game, we draw. And another massive change is, in the nicest way possible, a semi-professional head coach comes up and becomes Notts County's head coach, which is no reflection of ability. It's just he was semi-professional. He worked at BT whilst managing at Wealdstone. And then he's carried on. So we've got that momentum of poor results behind us. And then a new head coach has come in and has had to try and put, like he said, that like I think his quote was drip feeding his ideas and his plans into the game, because he played at Wealdstone a very similar game that we play at Notts, which I think is why he was appointed. He's tried to drip feed his new stuff in and stabilise it at the same time, whilst under a lot of pressure, whilst playing some top teams. And I think it's just all mixed really poorly for us at the wrong time. Because like his first game was Barrow and we drew 1-1 at home. And under Luke Williams, under Jim O'Brien, under Maynard, I'd have taken a draw against Barrow any day of the week because Barrow are a top team. Then the week after, we lost to Mansfield 1-0. Again, the performance we put in against Mansfield at the One Call Stadium was significantly stronger and significantly better than the performance we put in at Meadow Lane. And that's, I think, where you can see the difference in coaching styles. Like our defensive stability was so much better. And the only thing that broke down was Davis Keeler-Dunn scored an absolute worldie from the edge of the area right into the top corner. And then we had some great opportunities, and that could have been a draw. That we could have won, they could have won, that could have gone either way, and it just didn't land in our park really. But then, and I think, although some fans were very pessimistic and said, "Oh, we haven't won yet. This is ridiculous, and we should be doing better." Fed up losing against Mansfield and all this, that, and the other. I think looking from a different perspective, you can say, "Okay, that's fine. We didn't really expect much out of those games." But then when we come up against Gillingham at home, and taking nothing away from Gillingham, they're a brilliant team, and that's why they're now in the playoffs. Are they in the playoffs now, or they're still circling? They're around the playoffs anyway.
I believe they're 8th and Harrogate are 7th, but it's all down to goal difference anyway.
Yeah, so anyway, brilliant team. They wouldn't be where they were if they weren't. They wouldn't be where they are if they weren't a good team. But that's a team that you think you look at on paper, and I looked at it and I gave my prediction on the Lower League Look pod yesterday. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was yesterday. Sorry. I gave my prediction on the Lower League Look, and I thought, I said Notts would win 3-1. I thought this would be our first win. I thought attacking-wise, we'd kind of look a bit stronger. I thought our defensive stability would kind of come into play, and we'd beat Gillingham at home like we did away. And that isn't what happened at all. And this is the first time, and not in any way do I think Stuart Maynard should be sacked at all, because he's only had 3 games in charge, and that's a ridiculously short amount of time to judge someone's career at a club. But this was his chance to put down a marker and say, this is the football you can expect from Notts County when we play in League Two. And if he did put down a marker and say that, then we're going to get relegated next season. If we play the way we did yesterday for the rest of our time in League Two, then we won't stay in here for very long. But it was a disappointing one, because this was his chance, I think. That was his big chance. And now we play you on Tuesday. And obviously that's going to be an incredibly tough game, because, as we've said, you are, I think, top of the form table at the moment with 4 wins on the bounce against a really struggling Notts team who defensively are full of errors. However optimistic I may be, I can only really see that going one way, statistically speaking anyway. It's just not looking great for us at the moment. And I don't know when it's going to turn around, because after you, we've got Wrexham. And although there's history between Notts and Wrexham are flying, and I think are 4th or 5th after the loss today against Bradford. One or the other. Anyway, yeah, they've been in the automatics pretty much since the start. They've stayed there. They've dropped out, I think, today. But they're still in and around it, still in the playoffs and still doing very well. And they seem to not let a loss get them down. They seem to bounce back every time. So again, not really excited for that one either. I don't know when it's going to turn, but it needs to soon.
I mean, yeah, I'd imagine it definitely needs to. I think in terms of the form table, you're 18th in the past couple months, which, like you said, it's not ideal form, especially given how promising the start of the season was for you. And I'm going to continuously say that we're top of the form table because I won't be able to say it for much longer. There is the feeling of that, but yeah, when you went to face Gillingham, I think a few things were said, and it was kind of an almost opposite way of play. Gillingham are a lot better defensively, but they struggle to score. You're better offensively, but you struggle to defend, and it was all about which style of football went their way. And obviously, it went Gillingham's way, and that could be because if you're an experienced coach in that regard, or it could just be one of those days where things didn't go your way. Of course, I didn't watch the game, so I won't be the one to give any judgment on it. I'll just kind of make basic observations. But yeah, in terms of, you said that you don't know when it's going to turn in terms of your form, in terms of when you'll get back on track, so to speak. In terms of back on track, what is that for the rest of the season? Is it still in the hunt for promotion, or have you kind of got to a point where you just want the kind of stability and the potential to go again next season, as so long as you keep hold of some of the players that I know some people have been worried about losing anyway?
I think that's a really good question. I haven't really thought about what getting back on track for us looks like. I I heard I can't remember who said it specifically, but I can assure you this is from a reliable source that when Maynard was appointed, when speaking to the owners, they told him that their aim this season was promotion, which is quite a big statement anyway. But I mean, personally, at the very start of the season, for me, a top 10 finish would have done. I think the only and I think a lot of people would have taken that all, in and around the playoffs, just missing out, just getting in, maybe getting to the semi-final, something along those lines would have made, I think, every Notts fan think, we've done well this season for a first time back up. But the good form we had at the start has then skewed that for everybody, because we've thought, oh, well, we've done this well. Let's keep it going. Let's go for automatics. Let's get top 5. Let's get all those things. And now that's coming to an end. People are thinking, well, if we're doing it then, why aren't we doing it now? And I'm not saying that getting back on track is getting automatic promotion, because I think that's a bit of a pipe dream at the moment. But for me, getting back on track is playing with confidence, playing our style of football, scoring goals, being defensively stable, and not losing every game would be good. I think for me, I would be chuffed at this stage of the season. I'd be chuffed at the end if we get into the playoffs. I'll be really happy. Even if we scrape in by a goal in 7th, I'd take that as a win this season. I think even if we're 8th or 9th, I wouldn't call it a majorly successful season, but it's not a season that you think that was terrible, we should have done so much better. We've got a squad that can do so much better, because a lot of the squad we've got now, we played within the National League. I think pretty much everyone along our back line, apart from Jaden Warner, who's on loan, and Aidan Stone, who's obviously came in the summer, all of those played in the National League with us. Jody Jones, Aaron Deman, same thing. Bostock, same thing. Matty Palmer, same thing, although he's injured. So Robertson's come in, and he seems like a good footballer. Obviously, Dan Crowley was a big, big signing for us, and so was McGoldrick. But then saying that, we've gained those two, and we lost Ruben Rodriguez, and we lost Kedwin Scott because he's injured all season. Obviously, we've kept hold of Langstaff, and that's fantastic. So the large majority, like 80% of our team, was with us in the National League. So I don't think a high mid-table result is a poor season. I think if we suffered like 12th under, we've underperformed. I would like us to get back on track in the sense that we are contesting for the playoff positions. That for me is back on track. I said that that was such a long-winded way to say that playoffs.
No, in all fairness, I think we were very different in terms of the kind of expectations compared to how it's going. While given how good you were at the start of the season, given where you were, it may seem like it's an underachieving season. But in terms of a Newport perspective, anyway, no, I believe this is our 10th season in the EFL since going up in 2013, where we beat Wrexham in the playoff final at Wembley. Just going to say that anyway. But irregardless, a lot of people kind of worried that we were going to be in and amidst the bottom two, in the midst of relegation. We had suffered stupidly bad losses during the summer, not even in terms of just players, in terms of net worth and being a fan-owned club at the time. It wasn't very positive to kind of have the outlook on, and the replacements didn't necessarily wow us at the beginning. But realistically, ever since the turn of the year, I think there's been almost a switch in terms of form, in terms of, you want to say ambition. I don't know if that's the correct word, but I can't think of any better words at the minute. And one of the things that I caught on of you saying was that you were doing so well that your expectations had skyrocketed, had skewered, so to speak. That's kind of what I was starting to do. And it worries me, but to a degree, because you say you want to just be a team that challenges for, promotion. Don't have to get it. You want to be in and around there anyway. I would have said to you at the start of the season, I'm still going to say to you, I'm happy with anything higher than 23rd. That was the bar that we had set ourselves. And to say we've overachieved as of now, I think that wouldn't be an understatement. I think that would be rather fair. And it gives me kind of a thing of, how's this game going to go? Because you look at it potentially on paper, you take all the history, all the data, and all the recentness, and you do back knocks because, like you said, on paper, you've got a good team despite it being in the National League. You've got a team that is well gelled, so to speak. And there's been a lot of teams that have come up that have just spent a load of money and they haven't quite, achieved because they've spent too much money and they've not been able to kind of glue together. And I think that was a difference that you had, and that's why you did so well. But since you've lost your manager, I think that's been kind of, I wouldn't say unstuck. I think you have very much a potential to, get back on track with the ambition that you have, so to speak. But it's just kind of been delayed. It's a transitional period. I think that's how every club has with a manager change, which is I don't think it's not an uncommon thing in football. But yeah, I think that this game it's going to be one way. You talked about Gillingham as being the potential stamp from your new manager in terms of, this is the ambition, this is where we can go to. But I think pulling off a result against a high-flying team that really realistically on paper shouldn't be a high-flying team, I think that's a little bit more of a standpoint in terms of the just being able to achieve something against odds, or whatever you want to say. But in terms of your squad, I waffled along quite a bit there. In terms of your squad, you went and covered it a little bit in terms of the summer editions and everything. But who are those players that you think could cause Newport problems over the the midweek game?
I mean, Jody Jones is having the most magnificent season, I think, of his career. He broke the assist record for League Two against Gillingham, and it's February. So he's definitely one you're going to need to watch out for. Langstaff hasn't scored in a while, so he's due a goal. And he has already got 20 for the season, I think. I think he's still the top scorer in League Two, but I could be wrong.
I think he is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, I think so. Everyone knows about the quality of David McGoldrick because realistically he could still be playing in the Championship. Dan Crowley's a little magician. Aaron the Man, he is one of those players where if he has a good game, he has a great game because he's fast, he's skillful, and he can take a man on and beat him. But he's a confidence player, and at the minute he has no confidence, and I think that kind of shows for the team as well. So he isn't doing brilliantly, but then I think it's a really rough cycle for him at the moment because he's feeling poor about the game, then plays poor, and then makes it feel poor about the next game, and so on and so on. And if I'm honest, I think he needs a bit of time away from the starting 11 just to kind of get himself back into it. Robertson so I've seen him play only a couple of times, and every time I've seen him play, he is a midfielder we've needed in terms of he's got a bit of bite about him. He's not going to shy. He's not just like Bostock, for example, when he's on the ball, he almost glides with it. He just seems to create space around him, and when he's on that sort of form, he's unplayable, which recently hasn't been the case, but then I can say that for pretty much most of our team. But Robertson is more like the nitty-gritty, the one that like kind of like a dog biting at ankles sort of thing, like constantly on someone's tail, constantly trying to nip the ball away. And I think that's somebody that we've needed. So he's someone I think could be a big part of our season going forward. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure how we're going to line up because we've constantly played this back five with the wing backs pushing high and Baldwin stepping back a little bit in the central centre back role to allow Cameron now Jaden Warner to kind of travel a little bit more. But with how we changed to a 4-back, I believe, yesterday, and how that improved us, I can imagine that'd happen again. Or maybe we'll do that again on Tuesday. Maybe we'll start like that on Tuesday. I'm not sure. So in terms of formation, I can't give you anything really because I don't know. Considering we changed formation and it worked, I don't know whether Maylon's going to run with that or if he's going to say, right, that's something we've got in our locker for another time. And to be honest, Langstaff, if you mark him out of the game, you won't see him. If I'm honest, if you let him have space, he'll punish you. He's one of them. Like if he makes space and finds space, he will score. But if someone is kept on in the entire game, he probably won't because he won't be afforded that space. I think I've gone through the large majority of our team there and said, yeah, these are threats for this reason and this reason. But I suppose that's what you want.
It is definitely what you want. And the first player you mentioned, Jody Jones, and he mentioned his assist record that he's already broken, given it's only February. I recall the reverse fixture. I'm pretty sure he got a hat trick of assists. So within the chance that he does that again, I think he's probably the main one I jot down in terms of Notts players to watch. And I'll go through, I suppose, one or two Newport players to watch, but I'd consistently be saying the whole team because we don't have many immediate standout quality players. Everyone just kind of works together and does what they want. Will Evans is your obvious call. I'd like to say 17 goals in League Two this season. He's up there in terms of the top scorer. If he scored today, so I think he's also a confidence player. I think it's one of the things that we've kind of noticed about him. When he scores, he'll go on a run of consistently scoring. So, it's quite perfect that we're doing really well. And we had this cup game against United and we did really well. And we've kind of, we've almost had everything draw into the right place in terms of how our team plays and how they kind of feel going into games. So, I could go here and do exactly what you did and name the entire squad, but I've done that way too many times on this page and also on my Twitter, so I'm not going to do that. But in terms of, I suppose, the final thing I'll go into, and you may not like this because you didn't go too well with it on the Lower League Look podcast, but in terms of a score prediction, you mentioned earlier how you think it can only go one way. I'd like to know what you think that way will be.
I will statistically and looking at it form wise, it's only going to be a Newport win, but I'm never going to predict a loss for Notts. Even if we're playing against Stockport and we're bottom of the league, I'm going to say we'll win somehow. So I'm going to say we somehow scrape a 2-1 win against Newport, but that is said very, very optimistically.
I mean, I say that as if I also don't follow the narrative of what football fan would I be if I didn't predict my team to win every single game. And I think the default score prediction in that regard is a 2-1. And I remember saying that we beat Stockport 2-1, and we ended up beating Stockport 2-1, despite all the odds. I think we were the team that stopped them from breaking the EFL record of wins in a row or something along those lines. I'll go 2-1 again. Just out of the regard that even if we don't, I haven't said we'll absolutely walk through you, despite my recent bias of saying we'd absolutely walk through Walsall, which turned out to be all right. But
turned out to be true.
I think I said 2-0, so I actually underlined us a little bit. We scored a third, and it could have been 5, but we won't go into that. But yeah, unless we kind of, unless you have anything else you kind of want to mention about Notts or about this exact fixture, I think we're kind of cool to wrap it up there.
I don't know. Nothing really comes to mind, if I'm honest. However, I'm looking forward to it, but also I'm really not looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it because this could turn our season, but also not because it likely won't turn our season. If anything, it will probably make it worse.
I mean, I suppose it could turn your season in both ways, right? I mean, you mentioned you've got players that play on confidence, and I'd imagine the more you lose, the less you'll be confident. Not that I would know anything about my team consistently losing at all. Have I mentioned that we're top of the form table in the past 6 games? I'm not sure if I have.
It might have come up once or twice.
Good point. I only say it as a joke now because I know it winds people up. But irregardless, man, in terms of if you have any kind of social medias you want to promote, and I'll chuck in the description, you can kind of just mention them now, I suppose.
If anybody listening fancies giving my Twitter a follow, that'd be ideal. There's a lot of Notts County stuff, but every now and again something League Two related pops up.
Very convenient, in all fairness. I think that's about my Twitter page. Mostly Newport, but every now and again I'll tweet about Morecambe randomly. But yeah,
why is it mostly Notts?
I hope it's not mostly Notts, unless someone's got into my Twitter and is tweeting about Notts, or unless I have a secret Notts County page that nobody knows about. Here we go. This is where all the speculation begins. But yeah, irregardless, mate, thank you for your time. I think this went kind of longer than originally planned, so I appreciate it, man.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So yeah, I think that's kind of, where we'll wrap it up there. I hope that I come back onto here and say that we have extended our win run to 5, and we're unbeaten in 8 and still top of the form table in the past 6. But yeah, irregardless, if you've made it through this entire episode podcast, I don't know, I need to find a different name for it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, comment your thoughts on the fixture and just kind of Newport's or not this season, depending on who you're watching it from. Support the channel in whatever way you see fit, using the links in the description. There's all my social medias and all that stuff there, where it's mostly Newport, but occasional Morecambe. But yeah, other than that, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this. And yeah, take care.